Hello guys, welcome to another Jett guide. This will probably be the last Jett video I do for a little while, because I'm just going to be covering the main duelist meta. But there are some other maps where Jett is meta on, but with two duelists, so I'll be doing that and analysing a double dive soon. But the last map that I think, Jett is obviously going to be meta on as a solo duelist is IceBox. So I'm going to be doing attack, I'm going to be doing defense, and I'm going to be doing how you could position yourself for possible retakes and whatnot. And yeah, let's get right into it. So with Jett, there's many different ways you can push A. If you're taking the belt route, which I don't ever really recommend, using for Jett, you have to be careful of all of these different off angles here. Even there's an off angle you can do for rafters, which I'll show you on defense for Jett. You have to be careful of all of these. You have to be careful of anyone head glitching from 410 here, on top of 410, on top of screens, on top of pipes. There's a lot you really have to clear. If you've not got that early server dot, you even, I'd recommend just going straight through this wall, just to clear anyone out nest. And then there's kind of like very limited things you can do. Obviously, you can kind of like get yourself on top of 410, maybe take a few fights. Remember to always be using your Sova util, because again, this is another big Sova map. As you will notice, Jett and Sova kind of do go hand in hand. And the angle you can use to hold is this angle here, as they only see your feet and you can see their heads. But bear in mind, if they're pushing from rafters, you have to be careful of both pushes as well. So this push could be a bit risky. If you have a Viper wall across screens, I can actually hide you and you could just focus on rafters. Maybe get a free kill, smoke, dash down, whatnot. Another way you could kind of enter is literally just by, following your Sova drone, taking space around 410, This should hopefully be walled for you. If you can get a drone that can cover these close angles, you can kind of get by here. If this is still walled off, you don't have to worry about your screens, and then you can just go take fights backside, rafters, whatnot. Behind this box is a very common angle you've got people playing. Or, if you're feeling risky, you could kind of just updraft dash into nest, take that space here. Obviously remember, you're exposed to a lot of different things on this site, so you do need people clearing angles for you. And another way, the final way I recommend pushing is actually on top of pipes. I don't really recommend taking nest on Jett, to be honest, because there's quite limited way you can get out. But yeah, you kind of just take fights on top of pipes, and this is kind of the main entry I like to do on Jett, because it's quite, self-sufficient. Like, it allows you to isolate a lot of different angles and whatnot. And then once you're done, you can kind of just get yourself on top of 410. And I don't know, maybe you try to smoke and just go into backside, take a few fights, get a sight for your team. But backing off to my point on nest, if you've taken nest, right, it's really quite limiting, because you're kind of in this kind of zone of space. So if anyone's kind of got their crosshair kind of relatively placed around this and you're trying to enter, like, you're kind of screwed. But the best part about it is you can kind of use this rope to entry off of, which is quite strong. But you could also just use it while dashing off on pipes as well. If you want to just quickly kind of use it like this and whatnot, you can do. Yeah, that's kind of how I would take A on Jett. You can updraft dash in here and take a fight screens. You can just dash by this box and try and get this kill, but someone by the box. Depending on where you get scans, obviously you can take pipes, or you can kind of entry from maze, where you get a little dash updraft on top of screens. Or you can even take rafters if you're feeling, that you can aim. Maybe try and get like a free kill on a rotator and dash back onto site, just to slow down their retake. And yeah, I'll show you a mid push and then a B push. So for the mid push, there's a few good things you can do, but what I always opt for is just smoking this and updraft dashing on top of like tube and taking maybe a few fights boiler, this window here, down here. And for mid, I recommend just always doing this, like if you're doing the mid push. Because for me, you could take this space here, but like you're just not going to have that fast impact in the round. You could try and get a few kills here through this window, because it's just been a new feature, so people aren't used to it yet. So you could actually utilize this window very heavily in rank on any agent, not just Jett. But you can do this if you want. But I feel like this tube push is quite limiting for Jett. And for under here, if you want to push under tube, you can kind of do that on most agents. What you really need is a Viper orb. You have to be aware on where, if they have a Killjoy, which you don't always see Killjoy in ranked. A lot of people like to play Chamber or just Sage on this map. So you have to be, if they have a Killjoy, you have to be wary that an alarm bot could be there and whatnot. But you can kind of just push this with a Viper orb while you take the fights on top tube or on top of around here, you can get these fights off. But yeah, this is kind of where I'd always be playing around if I was playing on mid for Jett. So yeah, I'll show you B and then we'll move on to defense. So for the B push, they've actually made it a lot easier for attackers because there's a lot less places people can be and hide. So you can actually just, you know, smoke this, updraft on top of this, and you can now see up to here. And you can see all of this. You don't have to worry about, you know, clearing people, you know, hiding potentially in off angles for this part of the map, you know. So it's a lot easier to use. Obviously, make sure your server's droning out for you. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit harder because there are still a lot of off angles people can play. If you're dash, I'll mainly just use it for yellow, to be honest. Just take this space here. And another thing I see a lot of Jett players do is they like to just overextend and die for no reason, and then they just leave their team in a bad situation for a retake. So make sure you're kind of just, you know, playing a little bit far back, not, you know, overcommitting yourself all the time. I would say this is like the max hard push out. So maybe you can get away with here, but yeah, make sure you can, maybe if you have another smoke left, use it to get out. And stay alive for your team. I wouldn't push too far on Jett. Especially if your enemies are on an eco round. I don't understand. People see eco rounds and they think they're just going to kill them for free and then they die and then, you know, they could just lose 3 rounds that they should be winning, really. So yeah, that's kind of how I play Jett for B. It's not too complex. There's not really too many things you can do for Jett on B. You know, you can push through, you know, main normally. You don't have to waste your updraft there. Maybe you can updraft on top of, like, I don't know, anywhere you want. You could updraft on top of yellow if you really want to. Or you can maybe try and get one here, smoke yourself off, fall back down. So yeah, I would kind of be a bit more cautious with taking B. If your team are taking B, I recommend, like, you can just always take this tube angle here and get those 3 kills early, and then take B from mid and have a split. So yeah, that's kind of how I would attack on Jett. I wouldn't really switch out and do too much on B because there's not really a lot you can do without overcommitting yourself and dying for free. So yeah, on to defense now. So to switch up this time, we'll start with B. But obviously, as I say with every video, you can just hop on Jett, it's really easy. B, I recommend just holding 1 or 2 angles. You can either hold an angle like this, and try and catch people just pushing out on main, or you can back up and try and just, you know, catch people off guard by only holding from garage. And you'll definitely get a free kill if it's a B hit because people push from garage all the time. If you do want to push up, it's been made a little bit harder now because they've taken away a few containers. So if you want to push, I recommend smoking this off and maybe taking garage like so, and maybe trying to play for a few fights, and then you can easily just dash out with another smoke and play back if you get that last kill. You can also do it with a judge, which I know isn't always very popular, but it's also just as effective. If you don't have money or an eco, you can kind of play judge here and go for a few kills, and it will just catch your enemies off guard too. So yeah, that's kind of how I play defense on B. If you want to play a little bit further back, you know, you don't have to just play yellow. You can kind of play across here. You know, you can get yourself, obviously you don't use your updraft, but you can get yourself up to here and just try to kill some people peeking from yellow or peeking out onto site. And yeah, that's kind of how I want to play B defense. But I'd say A on Jett is there's just so much more potential. So I'll mainly be sticking A. But we'll go for mid. For mid, there's not really too many places I would recommend playing on Jett, to be honest. You can just hold from this side of boiler here. Or if you do what I want to do, I like to just push mid. If I'm going to play mid, I go all balls to the wall. But obviously do look at their team comp, and if they don't have a flank, you can just flank. Obviously don't just jump around like I'm doing. You know, if they have a chamber, bear in mind, unless this trip is right in the open, you can just walk past it and, you know, go from the second side of belt here. The second door frame here and push through belt. And so that's kind of how I'll play mid. There's not really too much you can do for mid. Obviously, you can also just hold it with your off as well. Like so, and you can obviously take advantage of this angle here now that's been made for you with this door frame. Get one move, smoke yourself off, pull back. Yeah, you can play a few places. You can also play underneath here too. But this one here is a little bit more risky because by the time you can peek this, they can kind of be up here and peek you from many different places. So I wouldn't really peek that if I've not got anything other than an operator, to be honest. But onto the fun part now, which I'll show you in a second. So A defense is kind of like a playground for Jett. There's just so many different elevations you can use. So I'll start with the most obvious one. You can get on top of this box here and kind of just hold my main map like this. And obviously you can get yourself a free kill, especially if you have an operator. Just on anyone walking out. And as part of your up pathing, you can obviously start by playing here as well. EQ your dash, get one. You can just dash onto like rafters here and hold belt, which is very strong. Another angle you can play is you have to kind of go into an S for this, but you can kind of just jump on top of screens. You can kind of hold it wide, you can come a little bit close. If you have a rifle, you can kind of just hold a full one and done off angle. And not a lot of time, or a lot of time people won't clear. You can get a pull on any agent, by the way. If you want to play a little bit more aggressive, but obviously before that I can show you, you can start by playing here as well. You don't have to play here and then move to rafters. You can jump on top of this box, and when the barriers drop, you can just get yourself onto here, you know, get yourself a free kill from pipes. Another thing you can do is if you time it correctly, when the barrier drops, or it'll be hollowed up, and then you can start shifting kind of when you get to pipes. Obviously don't stop. You can get yourself a nest at the start of a round. Another thing you can do with IceBox is you can actually do this too. Get yourself a free kill and kind of smooth beat and go out. You can do that on Jett too. And obviously you can play 410 as well, you know. Don't just... You can obviously just play like this. You can jump on top of here if you feel like it. There's a lot of freedom on Jett. It's like a playground IceBox. This is why I was kind of thrilled to see it come back in the game, to be honest. And another little off angle you can play is just to the right of nest like this. Obviously be sure you don't fall down. I'm basically already fallen down. But yeah, you can kind of hold it like this. Just for people walking on down and get yourself some free headshots. If you feel like doing that, because that's a super little off angle you can play. And obviously you can play little one and done angles like this, but make sure people bait for you. But I wouldn't recommend really doing that too much on Jett, to be honest. Another little off angle you can opt from as well is this side of rafters. You can kind of hold this pipes push, you can hold down here if you wanted to. You can get a little angle on their heads as well from belt, just a tiny little slither of an angle like this. But it's the only kind of thing you'll get from belt. So you're kind of concealed from belt, they can't see you because of this like block here, which is quite good. Actually, a lot of people off guard by playing that. The only drawback of playing on this side is you'll normally be walled off, so I wouldn't recommend doing it too often. Or maybe until they put their wall up, you can hold it. Yeah, that's kind of how I would play A defense. So there's so many different variations you can do. Always switch up, always leave them guessing. And obviously always switch sites with your op as well. Because if you're playing the same site every round, they're just going to be avoiding you as much as possible. So maybe a round you play A, you play B, play A for 2 rounds. Just be unpredictable. Maybe play mid for a round. If they've given up, if you're getting a lot of joy, they might switch up and play mid. Then you can kind of just hold them like this. So you can walk up, you know, chew and get a few free kills with that, if you feel like doing it. Obviously you can catch it straight away, you know, behind the tube too. So yeah, that's kind of how I play defense on Jett. For retaking now, I'll show you for B, you're gonna just have to be aggressive. If you have a smoke left, which you should do, you can smoke this right side off and get to belt and just, you know, take fights. Obviously use your retake darts, but if you can get here on Jett, you're in a very strong position to win the round, because like, sometimes people aren't prepared to take this fight on yellow when they're this deep into a round, so you can actually find yourself getting a lot of joy. You know, if a Viper's doing lineups, I recommend pre-aiming like around this box, because I always do lineups from that box. And I'll show you the lineup when I do my Viper guide for this map. Yeah, that's kind of how I'll play Jett on this map, to be honest. For A, there's not really a lot you can do to retake. Obviously, if they don't have a flank agent, you can switch up by flanking, and if they do, if they have a chamber trip, if you know where it is, you can even just smoke off and walk past it. But for A, there's not too much you can do. Obviously, maybe if your server dart's there or there, get them to come, so you know where it's going to scan, and you can kind of play accordingly to that. Kind of get yourself in this position here, and then this is quite a strong position to be in this deep in the round anyway. And if you have info on them, you can kind of just peek. Make sure you isolate your fights. I will be doing like a peeking guide and then, you know, fight taking guide soon on the channel, so obviously look out for that. But yeah, that's kind of all the theory I can give you for Jett on this map. So yeah, go have fun, I would say, especially on IceBox. It's like a playground. Try all the angles I taught you in this video. And yeah, thank you for watching. I do have a brimstone guide coming out soon, as I said in my last video, which will come out after this. So stay tuned for that. And peace. See you next time.